In 1918, Alistair Bibby, the well-known pastor of the We Are Sinless Church in West Grove, Tennessee, said it was high time that Christians launch a full-blown takeover of the government. When a friend reminded him of Thomas Jefferson's words about the separation of church and state, Bibby said, "Thomas Jefferson wanted a Christian nation. That separation of church and state nonsense was created later by some godless liberals." Bibby believed that every American should be forced to become a Christian, that committing adultery should carry a $100 fine, and once celebrated the burning of a children's book because the main character of the story, a caterpillar named Aloysius, does not say his evening prayers before going to sleep. To his supporters, Bibby was a great man here to lead America back to God. To his detractors, he was a self-righteous snob. The Knoxville Daily News once called him the type of minister who preaches a loud Sunday sermon about the evils of smoking and drinking, then goes straight to the diner to polish off 10 pieces of greasy fried chicken and 2 pints of potato salad, washed down with 12 cups of coffee, with extra sugar. Bibby's son Oliver had been groomed to follow in his father's footsteps as a minister. Now Bibby would groom his son to run for governor of Tennessee. Oliver was photogenic, likable, charming, and, most important of all, was willing to blindly follow his father's orders. Bibby's plan was to get his son elected, then run the state himself behind the scenes, pushing his extremist Christian agenda. But shortly before the election, Oliver was caught in an affair with the pool girl of the Bathsheba Hotel in Memphis. The scandal ruined the Bibby campaign, and he was easily defeated. After the loss, Bibby took his son aside, put a hand on his shoulder, and said, "Son, that was very foolish. You may have ruined the last chance for Christians to take over the government." Then he sighed and added, "But I can't say that I blame you. That pool girl is one curvy dish." On Christmas morning, 1949, Frankie Young, a popcorn salesman and part-time inventor in Kahn City, California, noticed an old man coming out of his front door to get his morning paper. As the old man bent over to pick up the newspaper, his face grimaced in pain. Young felt bad for the man and thought, there must be a better way to pick up a newspaper. For the next 8 months, he tinkered away in his garage and finally came up with what he thought was a brilliant invention: a stick with a clamp at the end. People no longer have to go to the trouble of bending over to pick up their morning paper, he said. The clamp will do the work for them. He would call it the Young-O-Matic. He took it to a hardware store, and the owner laughed in his face, saying, "If an old man can't bend over to pick up a newspaper, he should simply ask the paper boy to hand it to him." Young took it to hardware stores, department stores, and gift shops. All turned him down. Finally, he took it to a novelty shop called Junk Spun into Gold. The owner, an eccentric inventor himself, was willing to give it a try, and took 5 of them. They sold out in 45 minutes. He ordered 50 more, and they were gone in 5 days. Within weeks, he was placing orders so big, he had to rent an extra building to house them. Word quickly spread, and the Young-O-Matic became a surprise success, popping up in department stores and hardware stores across the nation. Young went from a popcorn salesman to an inventor, celebrity tycoon. He spent money like it was going out of style, danced with beautiful women until dawn, and bought a Rolls-Royce so big he dubbed it the Titanic on wheels. But his dream was to be in politics, and now he felt he was in a position to do it, saying, "A candidate with solid ideas and no money is just a candidate with solid ideas. But if you have money, a cross-eyed giraffe could be elected." Young set his sights on being elected mayor of Kahn City. "This is one of the most beautiful cities in California," he said, "and it's being run by crooks and half-wits. Being a crook or a half-wit is bad enough, but to be both at the same time is downright criminal." In 2015, acclaimed biographer Lionel Peters wrote a book about Frankie Young called Among the Very Young at Heart.
A great revival had taken place in Kahn City in 1907. This eccentric evangelist, Bobcat Bob Del Fonte, is what he called himself, pitched a tent in a field on the south side of town and held revival meetings throughout the summer. A great deal of money was raised that was supposed to go to the poor. But one night Bobcat Bob skipped town with all the money. It was later found out that he went to Louisville to purchase a racehorse named Raising Cain. But many people who had come from other towns for this revival liked Kahn City and decided to stay. So the Christian population grew through the generations until the city had a large Christian population, especially on the south side. So to be elected, you needed the Christian vote. And Frankie Young was not a Christian. He was far from it. He had no belief in a creator. Oh, he chain-smoked, swore like a sailor, chased pretty women, and drank so much he once joked, "Doctors don't check for the alcohol level in my blood. They check for the blood level in my alcohol."
In 2022, best-selling author Hannah Hollander wrote a book about Young's run for mayor called All the Mayor's Men, The Great Race of 1953. She said of the election,
"Frankie Young was most likely the least godly man in California. He was told that he would never get the Christian vote. One friend said, Attila the Hun would have a better shot than you do. But then Young saw a propaganda film about how to win an election.
So, you want to go into politics, huh? You feel you have what it takes to win an election? Are you sure you have the guts for this? Now ask yourself, are you an honest man? Are you willing to tell the truth even if it hurts? Do you have the integrity to represent the people? Well, if that's the case, then politics is not for you. In this world, you have to lie, both bold lies and half-truths. You have to be a complete hypocrite. If you do something, then it's good. If your opponent does something, then it's bad.
The film became Frankie Young's inspiration. He came to the conclusion that in politics, it didn't matter what you were. It only mattered what people thought you were. He didn't have to go to the trouble of becoming a Christian. He just had to give the illusion that he was.
The incumbent mayor, who was running for re-election, was a man named Richard P. Bennington. He was a very decent man, a long, solid marriage, a lovely wife thought of highly in the city, 3 children well-behaved. They went to church every Sunday at the West Side Methodist Church and helped serve a pancake breakfast afterwards. And Frankie Young had to turn him into a monster.
Is your opponent a nice guy? Does he campaign by kissing babies and attending bake sales? Is he thought of highly in the community for being a kind, decent man? Well, if this is the case, You're going to have to do something about it. You can't just paint your opponent out to be a man unqualified for the job. You must convince the people that he is nothing less than the worst person on earth. You find that to be cruel, do you? Listen up, pal. This is politics. If you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen.
Hello, good people. This is Frankie Young. I am officially declaring my candidacy for mayor of Kahn City. Our current mayor obviously has no idea how to run a city. This place definitely needs a hero to come in and save it. Mayor Bennington has failed us in education. It's a wonder the kids in this city know the answer to 2 + 2. I'm sure the mayor doesn't. He failed us in law enforcement. It's a wonder that our brave policemen even have bullets in their guns. He said he would clean up the Bosco River. The river is so polluted, I wouldn't be surprised if a giant monster made of toxic waste rose up out of the water and attacked the city. Some residents see the mayor as a very moral, self-effacing Christian man. Oh, so wholesome he is, making pancakes for the after-church service breakfast in the park. Well, I've tasted his pancakes. They're awful. I could make better pancakes than him with my hands tied behind my back. Elect me mayor and you'll see. If this man is to continue as mayor, your city will crumble to the ground.
Young went to see Jonathan Lee, the pastor of the First Baptist Church of Kahn City, one of the largest churches around. He wanted his endorsement for mayor, believing the more ministers he could get behind him, the more likely he would win the Christian vote. Reverend Lee had his suspicions. He had heard about Young's not-so-Christian lifestyle and wondered what he was up to. He asked Young, "Are you really a Christian, or are you faking it to win the Christian vote?" "I cannot lie to a minister," Young said. "I'm faking it." The Reverend told him, "Well, I certainly can't endorse a fake. Why don't you simply become a believer? It's the best choice you could make." Young looked like a child told to eat his broccoli. "Do I have to?" he asked. "Can't I just make a sizable donation to the church?" Reverend Lee refused. Before Young left, he said, "I'm sorry, Reverend. There's just not enough proof from me that the Lord is even real. If I get some proof, I'll become a believer." Young then paid a visit to Walter Knox, the pastor of the Best Visions Church. Again, Young was in search of a prominent pastor who would give him an endorsement that would please the Christians of Kahn City.
Reverend Knox said, "I'm sorry. I'm already endorsing Mayor Bennington. He's a decent, godly man who has run this city well." And Frankie Young said, "How about I make a sizable donation to your church?" And the Reverend said, "Sir, I am a man of the cloth. I will never take a bribe." And Young said, "How about $10,000? And the Reverend, after he caught his breath, said, "Well, you know, now that I think about it, Mayor Bennington hasn't really come through on many of the policies he had promised."
Young received Reverend Knox's endorsement, and his loyal following was expected to bring in many votes. The Reverend was very enthusiastic in his sermon the following Sunday morning, which was broadcast on radio throughout Kahn City.
I urge you all to vote for Frankie Young for mayor of our great city. Oh, I see the Lord in this man, and so should you. I knew in just minutes of meeting him that this man was sent by our great God to rescue our dying city.